My name is Elizabeth from Elizabeth Magical Garden. Here is where I empower women to reclaim their authentic power, embrace their inner wisdom, and transform life's most challenges. Transitions into profound opportunities for spiritual growth and self-discovery. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. Subscribe to the newsletter at Elizabeth Magical Garden, as well as check out my podcast at Elizabeth Magical Garden, which goes live every single Thursday.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth from Elizabeth Magical Garden, a magical garden reaching for the stars. Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have something interesting that I believe will not only change the way you see things, will also pique your interest moving forward. So be sure to stay tuned for the whole episode, guys. Now that it's springtime and we're in the season where the sun is out, we're having a good time. At least I hope you are having a good time. It's safe to say that our imaginations are running rampant. We're living in a world overflowing with options. Let's just take a minute to just take that in. We're living in a world with overflowing options. And this can leave people extremely overwhelmed in a state of mind where it's a bit confusing hearing, like, what do you really go for? I don't know about you, but for a very long time, I struggled in this area. Not that I didn't know what I wanted to do, but it just was hard for me to, I could say, like, stay on one thing. And still to this day, because I'm blessed to be in a space in my life that I can actually bring forth into fruition the things that I see for my life, but that still could leave us feeling frantic. So I wanted to touch base on that, and be sure to check out my blog because I wrote a whole blog post about this very topic. Excuse me. I wrote a whole blog post about this topic because your imagination is your superpower. Your ability to think is your superpower. And think about it. One of the reasons why I believe that the world is in such a space where there's a plethora of information and there's so much distraction is because I believe that the powers that be knows that your ability to focus is money. Your ability to focus consistently is birth. Your ability to focus is life. And when you are able to clear past the minutia, this is when you become extremely powerful. God says, pray and protect your imagination. Because when God was creating the world, he said, let there be light. Right? And then it was. He created something out of nothing. That was the first clue that you have the ability to create, to bring forth into this world, into this plane, something that had not existed ever, or something similar, right? Because I believe that we all interact and intermingle with each other's energy force. So, I would equate that to, when you probably was speaking to somebody that and they were having a conversation and you were in deep conversation, and next thing you know, you said something and they're like, I was just about to say that. That's because it's not so much of a coincidence. It's actually scientific, because your energy, you start to interact with one another in a way where you could kind of like read each other's minds. Excuse me, guys. I'm like getting over a cold. So that's that. I need some water. Of course, I didn't put no water next to me. going to do here? I think I have some water. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Hold on. I think I have this water, and it's going to have to like do, but oh, that's much better. Yeah, so we interact with one another in such a way where we don't realize that we are feeding off of one another. So if you are constantly distracted, right, then you don't have any time so much to give to the things that truly matters. And you know what I'm talking about. You know how you like, if you are doom scrolling and you've been scrolling for a long time, it is really hard to go back into focus when you have allowed yourself to be distracted. And this is why protecting the way you think, protecting your ability to imagine is very important. It's very crucial. And this is something that I truly believe that will catapult you and put you in such a position of manifesting the things that you want in your life. If you can just think clearly, if you could just get to the point in your life where you can now see things through, right? Because we'll have it in our minds, but are we putting it in order? Are we in alignment with the things that we say we want in our lives? What I've learned, most people don't just have thoughts. They live inside them. Studies show many people will trust their personal reality more than what outside sources are saying. And if you've ever had someone try to force you to change your mind, you already know what I'm saying. You know, when somebody try to force you into thinking the way they think, or have you see things from a perspective that you're not comfortable with, you're locked in. You're like, you may out of courtesy hear them out, but in the long run, you're just already like, I don't believe in what you're saying, and that's that. And we all are similar in that thought process. So if you can just take that thought process and put it inwards, how far ahead will you be? How far would you be able to get in your endeavors? How far would you be able to get in your ability to finish what you started creating, finish writing that book, start that business? How far would you be? Are you going to be the ones who gather, because I know I love gathering a certain amount of information, right? Gathering the information, getting everything in, you know what I'm talking about. Putting everything together, making sure your I's are dotted and your T's are slashed, right? But what is the use of having all this information if you're not going to see it through? What is the use of having a hankering to start anything magnificent in your life if you're not going to see it through? Because you are easily distracted. If you are not in charge of the way you see things, if the way you manifest in your life is going to put you in a state of vulnerability. Guys, I feel like this is like squeezing. Okay. Is this squeezing my head? Okay. I feel like it kind of is today. Let me just like turn it. You see how they turn it this way? Okay, maybe this is a little better. Because I kind of feel like, guys, okay, maybe this is a little better. It's a little better. How much more will you be able to achieve if you allowed yourself the ability to see things from a perspective that was exciting, that was doable, and not having to be at the mercy of the what ifs? Like, what if this doesn't come through? What if I fail? What if I don't have the money? What if I lose the money? Allowing yourself to free free yourself from those woes and living in a space of abundance, living in a space of clarity, because you know that you have done the work. You are a child of God, and you were created to not only be abundant, but to live in your abundance. And the only way I see that happening is if you seize your ability to think clearly. So how do we do that? How do we get to a point where we can feel comfortable within ourselves, knowing that God has everything in stored, everything is possible? It can feel almost impossible, right? It could feel almost impossible to tell like who's right, what's wrong, or what is right. Right? Most people don't just have thoughts, they live inside them. And this can be really scary if you don't know how to align yourself with your thought process and get to a point where you are now free to think clearly. And the only way you can do that is by practice, right? Practicing. How do we practice that? Well, one of the things that I love to do is write. Writing daily, writing in your journal will allow you to not only get used to the way you think, it will also reveal what you haven't uttered with professed within your mouth, with just even saying it. Because sometimes we could get to a point where we want things and we dream things and we are even afraid to utter the things, right? And this can be very confusing. This can be scary. This can make you feel like you're defeated. This can have you feeling in a space in your life where things are just not going to work out, but it is, because you have the ability to create a life that you are well deserved. You have the ability to create a space for yourself in this universe that will allow you the ability to receive the abundance that God has for you. When Abraham left his space and God told him to go to another space to build and raise a family, he did that in obedience. He did that not knowing what was waiting ahead for him. And because he was obedient, God blessed him in every way. It said in the Bible, when Abraham finally was laid to rest, God has blessed him in every way. What does every way mean? Money, family, his ability to interact with others, speech, physicality. He lived well past 100. He had a baby. Sarah had a baby when she was about, I believe, like 100 or almost 100. These are gifts. These are gifts that I believe God has already appointed to you. But you got to give him something in order to get something. And I know a lot of people might say, oh no, you don't have to give God anything. God loves you. He already said you're abundant. But there has to be something to work with. Even when God was creating the world, he created something, right? He spoke into existence. He used his voice to speak it into existence, right? It was a thought that he uttered that came forth and built and created life. And we were made in his image. So if we were made in God's image, that means that we also have the ability to think, to bring forth and create something out of nothing. Hence, we bring life into the world, right? Before, you were a thought, in your mother's womb, you were nothing. Well, at least your body, right? And then when there were energies that came together, your mother and father, and the seed was planted in your mother's womb, then you came forth, and now you are a whole human being that has the same capabilities, right? Because I believe in Genesis it says, let the trees, God created the trees that had fruit, that had seeds in them, that gave birth, that was able to have likeness in fruit that also had seeds in it. When God created the animals, he created them to have likeness of seeds in it. So how many times have we seen one thing come to that was able to produce many things, right? It only takes one thought, one act. And I believe when you take the time to sit with yourself and start writing in your journal, guys, this will put you on the map, honey, because I know for me, I remember when I was working a physical job, I used to, let me tell you something. I had this, I don't even carry that bag that much, and I spent a lot of money on that bag. I had a Louis. As a matter of fact, I believe I have a old video of me doing an unboxing of that bag. I believe it's like, what's it, GM PM? Girl, don't even get me started on these here on numbers for the letters for the bags. But anyway, it's the biggest one, right? And I used to have I had that bag packed, okay. And one of the things that was my staple in that bag was having a journal. I had my journal in there, and I was writing in that journal the things I wrote in that journal for 2 years. Everything came to pass. Like everything. Every single thing came to pass. One of the things I wrote was I remember I couldn't, when I say I couldn't stand my job, like I was ready to leave. And I would always write, I am happy that I'm doing what I love, and I'm able to sustain and pay my bills. And just, I'm not giving you in verbatim, but it was similar. Long behold, that's exactly what I ended up being able to do. And a lot of times I believe that most of us tend to lose faith because we want things when it's convenient to us. We want things when our timetable comes about, right? But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. God's ways is not our ways. The way, things are to be is not the way you say it's supposed to be. Because think about it. Why would God be so cruel to give you something that you are not prepared to receive? Why would God be so cruel to give you something that your cup is not ready to hold? And I know a lot of us don't want to hear that because we feel, ego comes about and we feel that we are ready. We feel that, oh, well, girl, I don't know what you're talking about because I am ready. I've been ready. Well, then keep on being ready, right? Because you know what the old saying say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But it's all in timing. So writing in your journal, seeing where your mental state is, seeing how and what is being revealed, because I truly believe a lot of truths happen on pen and paper. And you get to imagine, you get to create, you get to build a life that you yourself did not even realize that you wanted, guys. Writing is so powerful, right? Your mind is so precious, and your ability to hold space in that way is powerful. In Proverbs 4:23 in the Bible, it says, Here often in no, I'm sorry. The heart, no, it says here. Here often, I'm looking from the side. I should have it on my, okay, let me put it right here. Okay, here often includes your mind, will, an inner world, your thought life. Here often include your mind, will, and in here, in will inner and an inner world. Here, I'm saying it wrong. Here often, how did I write that? Okay, here often includes your mind, will, and inner world, your thought life. So your inner world is your thoughts. You know how, like, I would equate that to, you know, when you're speaking, or even like as you are listening to this live right now, you have a lot of other thoughts going on in your mind. I'm not the only one in your show. Thank you for being here. But it's safe to say that you are having a world within a world. You're whatever you're doing right now and you're listening to this message, you're also having other thoughts, right? You have an inner world that is happening with you. So if you can just get in tune with that inner world and cultivate it, mow the grass, as one would say, and get it to be in alignment with the physical things that you are experiencing in this lifetime. Do you know what you could create? Do you know what you could build? Do you know who you could become? It's powerful. Do not conform to the patterns of the world, right? Cultivating your inner world is more important than the outer. You always hear, I'm sure you heard this before, you know, when it comes to, and that's why they call it inner work, right? Because you are working inwardly. You are taking your ability to imagine. You are taking your ability to imagine to a space where now you are cultivating on purpose, a reality externally. And this is not something that is rushed. This is not something that happens overnight. There are many components attached to what I'm suggesting. Having adequate sleep so you could get up and feel and have a burst of energy, feeling comfortable within your body, within your mindset, working and moving your body, going out, going for walks, going to the gym, moving your body in a way that will allow you to be free to feel and see and believe in a way that will put you in a frame of mind where you can be clear with your thoughts. Because if you got your thoughts going here, there, and everywhere, guys, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. Because now you're subjected to any sensory that's going to take your attention here, there, and everywhere else. And that's not what we want, right? We want to get to a space in our lives where we are comfortable with being alone, being with our thoughts, having a consistent thought process that's going to allow us to manifest in such a way that people will have to stop you and ask you, what did you do? God, in Romans, I believe in Romans 12:2, God's plan isn't behavior modification. It's mind renewal. I'm going to repeat that. God's plan isn't behavior modification. It's mind renewal. You know, I don't know if I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person, and that may or may not sit right with some people. That's on you. I'm not here for that. I'm just letting you know what and how I believe, like what do I believe? Because my thing is more of a personal relationship with God. All the other things, I was brought up Catholic. I'm not saying that I am opposed to the beliefs, because I believe that every religion has its own place depending on what works for you, right? And for me, having a friendship, having a relationship, getting to know my Father on a level that will allow me to believe in the things that he said that he has for me. Because I cannot believe in a God that I don't have a relationship with. I can't. I cannot believe in a word that I don't know the person that's saying it. I don't know if the person is a word of the word is born, like what is going on. And the only way that I believe that this can encounter, or you can encounter a relationship with our Father, is by having a relationship. And for me, what has been working for me is sitting with him, holding space, reading the word, reading the living word. And I have to say, like, this time go around, and I mentioned this in latter lives that I did. I don't, when I read the Bible now, I don't read it the same way I used to read it. I used to read it like I was like holy, like just like holier than that. No, now I read it in a way where it's like a love story, a storybook. Like I'm peeking in to God's world. I'm reading about the relationships that he had with the other ones, with people before me. I'm reading about how he kept his word. I'm reading about what happened when his word wasn't followed. What happened in the mindset. What happened to these people? What was their demise when they went their way and not the way that he suggested or told them to do? You know, and it's just such a beautiful unfolding, because you get to see in parallel, what happened when I did think like this? What happened when I did have faith and I did this anyway? Did God come through? What happened when I choose to live in fear and make that issue, that problem, my God, instead of the Creator? What happened? Did I have a better life? What happened in that mindset? And what happens when you start to see things from that perspective? You get to see the patterns. You get to see the patterns in relationships that you have. You get to see the patterns in the decisions that you make or you do not make. You get to see what kind of person you are under pressure. And this may or may not sit right with you, but it is a fact. It is. Because if you don't have the ability to think in a state of being sound and sticking with a thought process, it's going to be very hard for you to manifest anything. In Philippians, it's set in Philippians 4:8, I believe it says, this is a blueprint for mental discipline and emotional peace. God knows this. What you repeatedly think, you eventually believe. We take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ, if you take captive every thought and you give it to God and you make it a fruit of offering and you give it back to God, you take that fear and you give it back to God. Because guess what? You're going to feel fear. I want to be clear. This is not to pretend like we don't live in a world where everything we feel, we see, we hear is fear-based. We're not going to sit here and pretend that is not a factor, right? What I'm suggesting is you taking these emotions and catapulting it, like pew, giving it back like a ricochet, give it to God, because God said, cast your burdens upon me, right? Cast your burdens on the Creator God, and you move in faith. You move anyway. You do the thing anyway. You start the business anyway. You make the investment anyway. You do it anyway, because nothing is guaranteed. There's no such thing as a perfect plan. And trust me, I tried. There's no such thing as a perfect plan. But if you can have a perfect belief, at least aiming to have a perfect belief, at least aiming and putting yourself in a position where, because you are working towards having faith, because you are working towards being a different person, because your mindset has been renewed. You are working on your mind. You are working on your creativity. You are working in your ability to breathe life into the things yet unseen. There got to be a lollipop that you get for that. Because that's big. That's big. You remember like when you was little and after a visit, you got a lollipop? Do they still do that? I don't know. Right? The imagination is powerful, but it needs a gate. You were created to imagine. Create dream and to see beyond what's in front of you. Seeing beyond what's in front of you will allow you to catapult your identity. It would allow you to cosmically shift into another dimension. Because if you can see it, that means you can believe it. And if you can believe it, you can obtain it. So you just got to get past the minutia of captivating and reclaiming your ability to imagine big. Stop thinking small. Get outrageous in your thought process. It doesn't have to make sense. Get to a point where your imagination is so wickedly strong that something is bound to fall from the bag. You know what I mean? I like in when you see like Santa's when like those little cartoons and you see Santa with the big bag of toys and some of the toys fall down outside of the bag. That's your imagination. When you get to a point where you can close your eyes and actually see and obtain the things, oh my God, it's something delicious. Because first of all, you start to trick yourself. Yes, trick yourself into a different point of view. And through that, you start to believe. And this is why I believe mirror work is so important, because when you look yourself in the mirror and you profess the things, you speak life, you speak life into yourself, you tell yourself how courageous you are, you tell yourself how magnificent you are, you tell yourself how beautiful you are, something happens in your mindset. Your subconscious mind is always on. It's always listening. And this is why even in play, even in jest, you should always speak highly of yourself, because your subconscious mind does not know the difference of if you're playing or if you're not playing. FYI. It just doesn't. So you're sitting here like, oh, it's just a joke. And especially the ones I love the most is when people say, oh, I was just playing. Cut them people. Those I'm just playing people. Sometimes you may need to, well, don't do that. I was going to say sometimes you need to just play too, but we're not here to stoop down to a level. We're here to up level. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it can be very tricky on how you get hoodwinked into thinking a different type of thought process. And managing the way you see life is extremely important, guys. It is. One would say life and death. You know, it's not only what you can think, it's what you can sustain. Because the world is full of distractions for a reason. And if the enemy can't destroy you, it will try to distract you. Okay? So keep that in mind. The trickster has many of the tools. But the good news is if you stay in the good news, you'll be able to reap the benefits long term. But this is a practice. This is not a one and done. This is not something that you do one day, today, or even a month, and you're going to just become a whole new person. You'll feel better. That's one. But I would suggest adapting a mindset that this is a lifestyle rather than a destination, so to speak. Because every day you are being renewed. Every day you are being presented with a different point of view. Right? So, how do you build healthy habits that protect your mind and strengthen your inner world? Habits that strengthen your mind and protect your peace. Those two are your key points. Creating habits that protects your mind and protects your peace. I would suggest what are you listening to? When you're off on your walks, or if you're in the gym, are you listening? And I know, especially, especially when we go to the gym, right? Especially when we go to the gym, we like to listen to some kind of hardcore music. I am no different from that. And even with that energy, because that could be tricky, right? Because if you're hearing somebody, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, that might not be the key. But you can listen to hardcore music that has a hardcore beat that is uplifting you and building your inner ego. You can. There is gospel music. They have, I actually was looking for it because I was like, some of these rap songs I'm listening to, okay, might be a little, a little questionable. But you know what's so funny? I made a conscious decision to do better in that area. I'm not perfect, never claim to be, but I feel like the more you get on this ride of wanting to harness a stable mindset, the more you'll start to look for better ways to do things. And what was that? I don't remember the name of the particular group, but there are a lot of rap, upbeat, hardcore music that is God-fearing. And I mean, to the point where, and if you're anything like me, if you really about that beat, to the point where you kind of forget it's gospel, You know what I mean? They speaking like the word. And if anything, they're empowering you. So creating habits that will protect and strengthen your mind. Another thing is reading. What are you reading? Are you a person that is doom scrolling and all you doing is reading the words on the screen that is just like short, like little like tidbits that's like jokes all the time, things that's just not feeding? And don't get me wrong, there's a space for everything. I'm not saying that just live this humdrum, lonely, like whack life. I'm not saying that, because who wants that? I'm here for a good kiki too, but we have to, I would say it's imperative for you to take caution to what you are consuming and how much of it are you consuming. Like the other day, I had this hankering for some chips. I don't eat potato chips. I don't eat potato chips. I love potato chips, and that's why I don't eat them. I don't eat potato chips because I love them. Right. But the other day I was craving for some chips. And I try to make a healthy choice, the best choice that was there. So I bought these chips. I forget the name, but they were gluten-free. And they were made from real potato. And I just try to pick the most healthy chip that was there. And yeah, it's still chips, right? Still has salt, still had all the things, but I did what I could while satisfying a craving. I made the healthiest choice. I remember when I stopped eating meat, it was one point in my life where I just completely stopped eating meat, cold turkey. I stopped eating meat for 9 years. 9 years straight, your girl was not eating any meat. Okay. And I remember when I stopped eating meat at that time, there were it wasn't like now. Like now there's so many other choices that you can make. Like it doesn't even matter if you stop or not. Like you're going to find something that you can eat. But at that time, when I stopped eating meat, and the way I did it, first of all, I didn't even, it was a whole nother topic, but the research that was needed in terms of like, what can you eat? I was hard knocks. I didn't really have a lot of information. I kind of like roughed it as I went. I learned as I was doing it, and it was hard. And one of the things that I noticed is that there were so many billboards of like chicken nuggets, hamburgers with cheese and bacon and all the things. It had all the things. And I found myself noticing how much unhealthy choices was being presented to me without me even realizing that. And of course, I believe I realized it more so because I stopped eating meat. So I'm still in the craving, but it also shed a light on how they use these tactics for you to get in. Do you know that the fast food restaurants, and this is a true story, their vents, I don't know now, but I know back then, and I know some of them did participate in this, their vents are out in a way where it kind of like sprays the smell, so you can like, once you get into a particular radius, you can smell the burger, you can smell the fries, you can smell the food, and then here you thinking that you made the choice to go inside this particular restaurant and get the food. What they did was they lured you, unbeknownst to you, to come in and purchase. This is not by chance. This is by design. Right? So with something like that, I would suggest, especially if a person is on a health journey, have a piece of fruit in your bag. Have water on you at all times. Have something on you so you can quench and satisfy that hunger until you get to a space where you can make a healthy choice, right? Creating a playlist of music is a good way to protect your energy, protect your mindset. Have a playlist of books you would like to read, right? Having a plethora of things that is waiting for you will allow you to maneuver in a way where there's less distractions when it comes to your physical and mental health, right? And I don't mean scrolling like captions. I'm talking more like the text, random quotes on a screen, just like things that's going to provoke you in thinking differently from what is aligned from the things that you want. What are you listening to when you turn on your television in the morning? Are you putting something powerful that's going to uplift you, put you in a thought process where you can more so have a relationship with God, or something that's going to pull you further from your relationship with God? These are the things that I believe taking initiative and understanding our part and doing what we can, because guys, no matter what you do, life is going to happen. And this is why having your armor on at all times will allow you to pivot, right? The good news is you can consume books in so many ways. There are Audible books. I love Audible. Let me tell you something. Audible, I love Audible because not only did it allow me to, how many books I read, I believe at this point, we're like well over 100 books. And I'm talking about physically and Audible books that I've consumed last year. Yeah. I love to read. I love to read. I love information. I love to read. I love to just build my repertoire in terms of expanding my world point of view. And it's the cheapest thing. Like if you're not blessed to be traveling all the time, a good book is a fast and easy way for you to do some good time traveling and learning things that you probably would never hear or know about. Right? And what does that do? What does reading do? Well, not only can you also read, by the way, while you're cooking or while you're walking, right? It stretches your mind. It gives your imagination better material to work with. It really does. Because I know when I finish reading a book, or even while I'm reading a book, I get so inspired. It has definitely up-leveled my writing. And be sure to check out my blog. This particular post, I'm going to put the link in down in the bio so you could check this post out, because I really believe that once you have the information, you can't say that you don't know, right? And when you do know, it's just more of a tool that will anchor you, that will allow you to be in a mindset of creativity. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. And having and holding and harboring fear in your life is because you are afraid to take the next step. You are afraid to succeed. And I say this with love. This is something that I had to work with I had to work through. And it is a hard pill because a lot of times we say we want the thing, right? But our actions are saying otherwise. And then when you start to look at your actions, you start to notice, why am I doing this when I say I want this? And then that's when I believe that you start to be confronted with what is truly holding you back, what you truly are really afraid of. And a lot of times this comes from a place of trauma, something that you experienced, something you saw, something you heard. A lot of times our parents were born in a time where fear-based was a form of survival. And this is passed down to generations after generations. But when you start to practice mindfulness, you start to get to a place and realize that these preconceived notions no longer match your reality, right? You no longer have to think and survive in a way where one time that was life or death for your parents and their parents. And one time they did have to think like that, but you don't have to think like that anymore. You do not have to believe that you will not survive this, because you will. You are blessed to live in a society that offers you the ability to achieve whatever you and your pretty head sees fit. Do you know that anything that you could come up with, there is something that can show you how to do it? Like, I remember when this is when I was playing with the notion, and you never know, stay tuned. I was playing with the notion of homesteading. And I came across this. So there's this lady, and she's on YouTube. I don't know her name. It was so many years ago. But there's this lady that legit built her house. I think it was her and her son. They got like a blueprint, and she bought the land. She bought her land, and she built with her hands her house. Okay. They put together and they built this house. They lived in this, I think they had like a little tent or whatever the situation is. And my girl and her son, they built their house. Okay. And of course it took time, of course, but she also, I believe that she started getting help or whatever the situation is. I don't remember the story entirely, but she built her own house. And I remember being so inspired from seeing something like that. And I don't know how, girl. I don't know how I came across this information, but on Amazon, let me tell you something. Shout out to Amazon, because Amazon I can't even get it out. Amazon holds tea, okay? Do you know that, well, I don't know about now, but I came across this blueprint to build a house. And it was pretty. It was pretty. It had the rooms. It had every single thing. And it just goes to show you, like, if you could think it, you could achieve it. If you want to write that book, you can write that book. And we live in a society where now you can self-publish. You can do, like, it's so much. If you want to travel, some people are professional travelers. Okay. You could get paid for that. There's so many things that you can do that will satisfy your imagination to grow and live a grandiose life. So, no matter what scale, if you want to teach, there's YouTube University. If you want to build like anything. So, and it's not about, listen, it's not about starting up here. I remember when I started YouTube. Oh, by the way, oh my God, I should have said this when I first got on. Is this a hair? My God. Okay. I should have said this when I first got on. I literally just made 10 years on YouTube and a whole decade. And it just made me feel so fuzzy inside, because I remember when I first started YouTube, I had this, I don't even know. It was this like little camera that was gifted to me. And I started from there, didn't know how to edit. Then I fell in love with that. And the evolution of me being consistent on this platform has really changed my life and really changed my ability to grow, to teach, to learn, to build, to start a business. Like, it literally changed the course of how I see and view things. And I'm sure I'm not by myself. I'm sure I'm not alone. So don't put yourself in a box. You know, it's okay to dream. I know, especially as we get older, dreaming might feel a little like childish. It might feel far-fetched. You might feel like, oh my God, I'm like in my 50s and 60s and 70s and beyond. You know, why would I now want to start something? Like, it's too late for me. No, it's not. No, it's not. As long as you are blessed to wake up every single day and breathe and see life from a perspective that can help you and also help others, that is a gift, guys. It's a gift. All you have to do is be consistent. Be consistent in the things that you see for yourself. Be consistent in the things that you say to yourself, and not allow others to ruin that for you. I have been known to correct, honey. Like, I'm going to share something with you. One of the things that I started doing is correcting people on how they have me in a story. Because like, and this is for everybody. What do I mean by that? Okay, so you're having a conversation, and you know how like a person might say, okay, like, let me give you for example. Let's just say if you was up in B, and then next thing you know, it was D. I'm just making anything up because I'm not trying to put that negativity on you. Okay, girl. And they take you from A and you're to D, but D is not good. They're using you as an example, and D is catastrophic. Like, that's not what you would want to do. But it's just a thought. No, baby. You can tell that person, I'm not in alignment with that. I'm not in alignment. If you know what? If D is bad, don't even use my name in that. Don't even, I'm not in alignment with this example. Two things is going to happen. That person is going to, because sometimes people don't even realize what they're doing. Sometimes I believe energy is being used. Okay. And if that person says, oh, okay, and they either use somebody else or stop, that's a person that respects you, respects your the way you think, and is not trying to mishandle you. But if a person says, oh, but it's just like, no, I'm just using an example. If they fight you on what you just asked them not to do, you may want to walk away from that person. I give you permission to hang up. I give you permission to stop even talking to that person, because that person does not mean you any good. You got to be on 100 when it comes to your blessings. Period. There's no negotiation when it comes to you holding on for dear life to a healthy mindset. Because think about it, you're already doing the work. You're already busting your tail to think in a particular way. You are already doing everything that is possible to keep you in alignment in your perspective, in your ability to create, in your ability to imagine, in your ability to elevate. And the last thing that you need is for somebody to bring you down in your thought process. This is a war. This is a war for your mind, and you have to have your armor on. And I would say, have your armor of God. Have the armor of the Creator. Get into the Word, guys. Let me tell you something. I'm not a preacher, okay? But I will say, do you want to be on a winning team? Now, what you choose to believe in, I'm going to leave that up to you, okay? But I shudder the idea of only believing in me. Like, I believe in me, but not believe in me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am grateful that there is something higher than me. I am grateful that I live in a world that it was created by the Creator God. And I am also grateful that I am in a position where I have the ability to seek His will for my life. Because doing life by yourself is boring. Doing life by yourself is not something that I would suggest for anyone, because we all need encouragement. We all need reassurance. You know, when you was a child, you had I pray, you had that one person, or you had a family member, a friend, a confidant that you felt safe with, where you could come and say, this is my fears. This is how I feel. Having the ability to do that, it gives you and puts you in a space of rest. Because without rest, you're not going to be in a position to dream. So, these are some of the things that I believe that will help you obtain peace, put you in a healthy mindset, allowing you to have a perspective of healing, strength, and abundance, will allow you to grasp your imagination and creativity. Because guys, when it comes to your imagination, that's where you hold the power. Be sure to check the link down below. The full article to this topic will be down below. Guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a video, as well as there is a gift for you down below that will help allow you to reclaim yourself and put you in a position where you can heal your nervous system. Because guys, with a healthy nervous system, we're able to focus. So be sure to check that out. Guys, stay in peace, stay in love, and stay empowered.